Have you ever come across a random account on Instagram, just scrolling mindlessly, and decided to follow it out of sheer curiosity? A strange profile, maybe with eerie art or unsettling photos, that seemed harmless at first. But what if I told you that the moment you clicked that follow button, you unknowingly invited something into your life? Something that isn't just lurking in your feed, but creeping into your reality. Something far more dangerous than you can imagine. This isn't some random creepy tale. This is a story of something that watches me, follows me, and knows my every move. It's not just a profile, it's a presence. So make sure you're alone right now. Because after you hear these stories, you might start questioning that. Keep watching to find out what happens next, and listen closely to these terrifying, true, scary Instagram horror stories. Because something might be watching you right now. I never believed in things like haunted social media profiles or creepy Instagram accounts. Until one night, I stumbled upon one that changed everything. It was just like any other night, scrolling through my feed aimlessly. But there was something unsettling about this account I came across. Something that made my skin crawl and my heart race. It started innocently enough. It was around midnight when I first saw it. The account was called Emily. One of those generic usernames you can't really forget because it feels familiar but also distant, like someone you knew in passing years ago. The profile picture was of a woman with long, dark hair, her face a little too pale, almost ghostly. Her eyes were wide, and there was something strange about the red glow in them, almost unnatural, like they were glowing. At first I thought it was just an art piece, some weird trend of spooky digital artwork. I mean, it was Halloween season, so I wasn't too surprised by all the eerie content flooding my feed. But there was more to this profile than I realized. Scrolling through her posts, I found one that made me stop. It was a selfie, a woman standing in front of a window at night, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders. She wore a black choker and had that same eerily glowing red eyes, her expression unreadable. Her small red horns, barely visible in the dim light, sent a shiver down my spine. I blinked, not quite sure if I was seeing things. Emily was the name at the top of the post, and there was a logo in the top right corner. A stylized white wolf on a pink background, its sharp eyes staring at me as if it could see right through me. The entire vibe of the profile was off, too polished, too perfect in a way that felt artificial, like something out of a horror movie. But the weirdest part? There was no bio. Just a series of posts that all seemed to follow a similar theme. Her glowing red eyes, her black choker, and that wolf logo in the corner. Each image had more and more of those tiny, unsettling details, but nothing that directly screamed haunted. I wasn't scared, at first. The artwork intrigued me. I'm a sucker for horror art and digital creations, so I thought it might be some kind of influencer trying to get attention with spooky vibes. I followed her out of curiosity, but that's when it all started to go wrong. Within minutes of hitting the follow button, my notifications exploded. Every time I checked my phone, there was something new. Messages, likes, new posts. But it was never from Emily. It was from random accounts that all followed the same eerie pattern. Dark, blank profiles with cryptic usernames like Shadowed Whispers, Red Eyes, or Nightmare Tales. They all had one thing in common. They were commenting on her posts. Their messages were chilling in their simplicity. She sees you, she knows you, and you're next. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just a weird online trend, but the more I scrolled, the more my unease grew. One night, around 3 a.m., I saw something I couldn't explain. A new post had appeared on Emily's profile. A video. In the video, the woman with the glowing red eyes wasn't just standing still like in the photos. She was moving, swaying slowly, almost like she was dancing. But her face, it wasn't right. Her smile was too wide, stretched unnaturally across her face. The horns that were barely visible in the photos now jutted out of her skull, gleaming like polished bone. And her eyes, they weren't glowing anymore. They were staring at me. I froze. My phone's screen flickered for a moment. The image of Emily, dancing in the video, seemed to move on its own, her eyes tracking my every movement. I felt sick. My palms started sweating, and I had the strangest feeling I wasn't alone in my room anymore. I looked around, half expecting to see something in the corner of my room, something I could not see before, but there was nothing there. Just the dim glow of my phone's screen illuminating the darkness. That's when I noticed the message. At the top of the post, a new notification popped up. It was from Emily's account. "We're already watching you," it read. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to block the account, to just forget about it, but the compulsion to see what would happen next kept me going. I scrolled down through her posts, her unsettlingly blank expressions, the strange, sinister smile creeping across her face in each image. I couldn't stop myself. It was then that the final post appeared. It wasn't a video or an image this time. It was just text. "I see you now." The text was in bold red letters, just like the glow of her eyes. At the very bottom, there was a new comment, one that I hadn't seen before. It was from a profile with no followers and no posts, a completely blank account. "Emily knows you're watching. She sees you." I felt the air in the room grow heavier. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I glanced around nervously, my heartbeat thudding in my chest. My phone's screen flickered again, and then the image of Emily's face filled the whole screen. Her lips curled into that unnatural smile, and the image seemed to glitch. I could see her blinking. No, not blinking. Her eyes were twitching like something trying to break free from the screen. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed my phone down onto my bed and tried to shake the feeling of dread that had taken over me. But then, a knock at the door. My stomach dropped. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. The knock came again, followed by a voice. Soft, almost like a whisper, but clear enough to hear through the door. "Let me in," it said. It sounded like my voice, but it wasn't. I didn't know what was real anymore. The posts, the account, the figure in the videos, it all felt like it was closing in on me. I grabbed my phone and unlocked it, checking Emily's account once more. The final post was still there, but this time, there was something different. The profile picture had changed. Instead of the woman with the glowing red eyes, there was just a dark, shadowy figure standing against a red and orange gradient. No face, no identity. Just a silhouette that looked like it was waiting for me. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. I felt something cold at my back, a presence standing behind me. And then my phone buzzed again. Another notification. It was from Emily's account. "You followed me. Now, you belong to me." I dropped my phone and ran out of my room, but I couldn't escape the feeling that I was being watched. The whispers, the red eyes, the choker, the horns. It was all too much. I've since deleted my Instagram, but I don't think it matters anymore. The account is still there, waiting. People keep commenting, keep following, and every time I close my eyes, I swear I see those red eyes watching me, waiting. Maybe it's just a story, or maybe I've become part of the story. Whatever it is, I know one thing for sure. Emily is real, and she's still watching. Two years ago, I was living in a modest, one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of a bustling city. I had just finished college and moved to the area for a new job. Being away from family was tough, but I was getting used to it. I had a small circle of friends, mostly acquaintances from work, but nothing too deep. It wasn't that I was shy. I just enjoyed my independence and solitude. I didn't mind being alone, and I found comfort in the quiet of my apartment. Like many people, I had an Instagram account. It was a way for me to share pictures, keep in touch with people, and occasionally express myself. I wasn't an influencer by any means, but I posted regularly, about once a month or so. I enjoyed the simple pleasure of capturing moments and sharing them with friends and strangers alike. But I knew the internet had its darker side, bots, creepy messages, and sometimes unwanted attention. While I didn't post anything too personal, I had experienced the occasional odd comment or message from time to time. It wasn't until one particular message changed everything that I really understood how unsettling the internet could be. One afternoon, I opened the Instagram app to check my notifications, like I usually did after a long day at work. Among the likes and comments on my recent post, I noticed a direct message from someone named Mark. I didn't recognize the name at first, but his account was public, so I could see his profile picture. I had no idea who he was, and I wasn't following him, so I assumed he must have followed me recently. His message was simple. "Hey, wanna hang out sometime?" It caught me off guard. I had never spoken to him, and from his profile, I didn't feel any particular connection. It seemed strange that someone would send a message like that out of nowhere. I didn't respond right away. I figured maybe it was just a random message, or perhaps a bot trying to get attention. The next day, I received another message from Mark. This one was even more direct. He asked me again, but this time he added, "I can pick you up if you want." I didn't know how to respond. I felt uncomfortable, and honestly, I was a little disturbed. I didn't know this person at all. His messages came across as a bit too forward for someone who had never even had a conversation with me. I decided to reply politely but firmly, "Thanks, but I'm not interested." I thought that would be the end of it. After all, people send random messages all the time, right? But to my surprise, Mark didn't stop. The next few days went by without any messages from him, and I thought maybe he had taken the hint. But then, on a quiet Thursday evening, after a long day at work, I went grocery shopping at the local store. It wasn't a part of my regular routine, but I needed a few essentials. The store wasn't very busy, and I didn't expect any surprises. I was inside for about 20 minutes, just wandering the aisles, picking out what I needed. It was just a typical trip, nothing out of the ordinary. By the time I finished shopping, it was around 8 p.m. The sun had set, and the parking lot was relatively quiet. I made my way back to my car. A small sedan parked at the far end of the lot, away from the few other cars scattered around. As I approached, I noticed that a car had parked right next to mine. At first, I didn't think much of it. It wasn't unusual for someone to park close in an empty lot, especially when the spaces were wide open. I unloaded my groceries from the cart and began to put them into my trunk, when suddenly, the door to the car next to mine opened. A man stepped out, and he walked toward me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Just another person heading into the store. Maybe someone who had parked there recently. But then he stopped in front of me, looked directly at me, and said my name. "Why did you ignore me?" he asked, his voice firm. I froze. My heart started pounding as I recognized him. It was Mark. The same man who had messaged me on Instagram just days before. He had tracked me down. I felt an immediate rush of panic. How did he find me? How did he know I would be here? I had never told anyone where I shopped. I tried to remain calm, but the unease grew with every passing second. "How do you know I'm here?" I asked, my voice trembling. He smirked, as though my question was nothing but an afterthought. "It's just a coincidence," he said, brushing it off like it was no big deal. "But now that I'm here, we can hang out, right?" His tone was unsettling. It was almost as if he thought he had a right to my time, as though I owed him something. I could feel my muscles tense, and instinctively, I backed away from him. I didn't want to engage any further. I told him I had to leave, but he wasn't having it. As I turned to open my car door, he grabbed my arm. His grip was tight, his fingers digging into my skin. "Come on, we're going," he said, pulling me toward his car. My mind raced. I was in a parking lot, alone. No one was close enough to help. My body surged with adrenaline as I tried to break free, but he was stronger than I was. I screamed as loudly as I could. "Help! Somebody help me!" My voice echoed across the lot, but there was still no one close by. I started to panic, but then, as if by chance, a few people walking toward their cars noticed what was happening. Mark hesitated when he saw them, his eyes darting nervously. He let go of my arm and, with a curse, told me to shut up. Without thinking, I bolted. I sprinted around my car, locked the doors, and jumped inside. Mark rushed to follow me, but I was already locking the doors. My hands were shaking as I turned the ignition and slammed the car into reverse. He chased after me, but by the time he started his car, I was already out of the parking lot, speeding down the road. I drove aimlessly at first, taking a few turns just to be sure I wasn't being followed. My heart was racing, my mind whirling with confusion. I didn't call the police right away, too terrified to speak coherently. I focused on losing him, making sure I wasn't being followed, driving through residential streets until I was certain I was safe. Eventually, after I calmed down enough to think clearly, I called the police. I explained what had happened, and they asked me for more details. But when they went to check Mark's Instagram account, it was gone. His profile had been deleted, and I never heard from him again. The next few weeks were filled with a sense of unease. Every time I went out, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. But I never saw Mark again. The messages stopped. To this day, I don't know how he found me, or why he fixated on me. I still get the occasional weird message online, but nothing that compares to what happened with Mark. I've since taken extra precautions with my online presence, and I'm much more cautious about who I interact with on social media. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm walking to my car in an empty parking lot, I still feel the weight of his stare, as though he's still out there, watching. I'm 17, and my name is Lily. Like many other girls my age, I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I love posting photos, sharing moments, and watching my follower count grow, especially when I get a lot of likes and comments. Last summer, I took full advantage of the sunny weather and posted a bunch of swimsuit photos. Those always seem to get the most attention, and I couldn't resist the rush of engagement they brought. I usually accepted most follow requests. It didn't bother me having strangers follow me. In fact, it was flattering to watch my follower count increase. But one day, I got a follow request that stood out. The account was completely blank. No profile picture, no posts, no followers. In fact, it would only follow me once I accepted. I thought it was a bit odd, but I shrugged it off and clicked accept. I figured it could just be a random person or, worse, one of my exes trying to keep tabs on me. I didn't overthink it. A week later, I got my first comment from this mysterious account. It simply read, "Hot" on one of my photos from a few days ago. I didn't pay much attention. It was just another comment from a stranger. But the next day, things took a turn. The account liked nearly half of all my posts. At first, it felt a little strange, but I brushed it off. That evening, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it out of curiosity. A deep voice greeted me from the other end. "Hey, is this Lily?" My heart skipped a beat. The voice was unfamiliar, and it sent a chill down my spine. I quickly hung up, my mind racing. I went around and shut all the blinds in my apartment, trying to shake off the feeling of dread. Maybe it was just a prank, I thought. But I couldn't shake the unease. The very next day, things took an even stranger turn. The same mysterious account tagged me in a post. I clicked on it, expecting something harmless. But it wasn't just any post. It was a picture of my neighborhood, the street outside my house. My stomach dropped. How could they have a photo of my street? I immediately blocked the account, hoping that would be the end of it. I decided to stay off Instagram for a few days, just to be safe. A few days later, my best friend Ava and I decided to head to the beach to get away from everything. We parked the car and started unloading our things when a man approached us. He was dressed in jeans, sunglasses, and a loose shirt. He complimented my swimsuit, and though I thanked him, I didn't want to engage in conversation. He asked how our day was going, and then I heard it, the same voice. It was the man who had called me. I froze. How did he find me? How did he know we would be at this beach? I quickly told Ava to get back in the car, and we drove away as fast as we could, making sure he wasn't following us. On the way back, I told Ava everything that had been happening, my anxiety growing with each passing minute. I didn't want to leave my car at the beach parking lot, fearing he might tamper with it. Once we got home, I had my dad check the car for any tracking devices, just to be safe. No matter how much I tried to rationalize it, There was no denying the facts. This man had found me, and he wasn't going to stop. A few days later, I received another message on Instagram from a random account. This time, it said, "Remember when we met at the beach?" The dread I had been trying to ignore came crashing back. I didn't know how much longer I could handle this. The harassment was starting again, and I felt helpless. I hadn't been sleeping well, constantly looking over my shoulder, feeling like someone was always watching. I was scared to leave my house, or even check my phone. I started to consider contacting the police, but I wasn't sure they would believe me or take me seriously. This situation was spiraling out of control, and I didn't know what to do next. The only thing I was sure of was that I couldn't keep living like this. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat, wondering if it was another message, another call, another sign that he was closer than ever. If you've made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments which story creeped you out the most. And if you could survive only one of these stories, which one would it be? Also, drop "I made it" and mention our channel in the comments below. I want to know who my loyal followers are so I can give you a shout out in our next videos. And lastly, if you've experienced a terrifying encounter or have a horror story to share, send it to us on Reddit. And if you want to support the channel and help us create even more spine-chilling content, check out our Patreon or Ko-Fi. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to like and share the video, and now, stay tuned for our next horror episode.